As is the case with behavioral learning theory, cognitive learning theory sees learning as dependent of experience and feedback that reinforce behavior, which means that children have an active role in their own learning process. Reciprocal determinism was developed by Bandura, and he explains that behavior and learning is a relationship among behavior and learning is a relationship among three different variables. And those variables are how children behave, the environment they live in, and how they see and think about their behaviors and their environment. There are expected outcomes, and people learn to expect certain outcomes to occur when they behave in specific ways by seeing how these behaviors work for others. And they become reinforcers or punishers. So for example, while you're studying for the CLEP or you're watching these videos, you expect to do well on your exam. And that should become your reinforcer. And to take a hint, it will. Bandura also said that human behaviors occurred from observational learning. That means when we watch others, we learn by watching what they're doing. We learn by watching the behavior of others, and then we can perform as well, the same behavior. Models are the people being observed by children that influence the child's own behavior. So there can be a direct model, a symbolic model, or a synthesized model where the child looks at everything. They watch in direct modeling, they look for symbolism in people's behavior, and they put it all together and they look at the outcomes of people's behavior, and then they decide what they will follow through on their own desired behaviors for the same desired outcomes. Well, the impact of models is that it increases when the outcome of the behavior is also observed. So if a child sees a person perform a behavior and get a desired outcome as a result of that behavior, they'll probably be more likely to perform the same behavior. So for example, if a student watches another student study and they do well on an exam, they're going to follow suit and start to study if they want to get the same A as another student that they've observed. In vicarious learning, that's when it motivates children to modify their behavior. A vicarious reinforcement increases behavior, and vicarious punishment reduces or suppresses behavior. Inhibition is the reduction in the frequency of behavior, and that's usually due to the child's voluntary choice to stop or inhibit behavior based on seeing consequences of models performing the behavior. So for example, if children are in class and they're talking and one of their friends gets in trouble from the teacher, then they'll probably most likely stop their talking. With self-regulation, that's when the child learns a set of standards about behavior based on experiences and follows them internally. With performance standards, that's the way children become or come to evaluate their own level of performance. They become their own critics of what they're doing. And those performances should be moderately difficult. So children value behaviors or doing things when it's not easy, but it's not too difficult to obtain. They need a little challenge, and they have to rise to the occasion for them to feel good about their performance. With self-efficacy, there's perceived self-efficacy, which is the belief a child holds about what he or she is capable or incapable of doing. This does not necessarily have to be consistent with what they are really able to do, which is real self-efficacy, but how they perceive how they're doing and the reality are not necessarily the same, but we would like them to be the same. With attention, retention, motivation, and ability, They are all necessary for a child to perform a learned, modeled behavior. With feedback loops, children develop, childs develop for redirections as a result of discrepancy between model behavior and their own performance. With a feedback loop, what you really need to understand is once a child performs a behavior and a teacher or an adult gives them feedback, that allows the child to change the behavior or improve it or to reduce it in some way in order to do the modeled behavior or the wanted behavior or desired behavior. With strong self-enforcement, that's when they create a progress towards imitating the modeled behavior. So when they start to self-enforce, then through experience, so that means, okay, so if a student studies for themselves, and using the example from before, the student who studies and gets an A will receive praise. The reinforcement of praise and doing well will get that student to continue to study, and because they want to feel the good feelings of getting an A. And it also presumes emotional and behavioral problems are the result of bad learning, and that leads to faulty cognitive processes due to 3 different things. It's a misperception of a situation, incomplete information, and problems in information processing. So the goal of counseling is to help the child to reduce the gap between their expectations of what the world has to offer them and the realities of their own world.